It is my pleasure to introduce today Maestro Simeone Tartaglione and his wife, violinist Allessandra Cuffaro. I have a pleasure to have known them for some years, and Maestro Simeone Tartaglione is a very versatile musician with a wide knowledge of and passion for the many areas of his art. He has studied composition at the famous Santa Cecilia Conservatory in Rome and piano performance at the Vincenzo Bellini in Sicily. In America, he graduated from the Peabody Institute of Johns Hopkins University. He also, and today is a special day for Germany for the Holocaust, but it's a kind of little connected with that. He conducted the 9th Symphony of Beethoven for the 30th anniversary of Wall Fall in Berlin in the presence of the President of Germany. His bio is very long, but let's step forward and just say that at the present, he works at the Catholic University of America in DC as the division head for orchestral instruments and conducting, and conductor of orchestra and conducting professor, and he serves as a conductor of other groups like Maryland Classic Youth Orchestra of Strathmore, the Delaware Youth Symphony Orchestra, the New York Symphony Orchestra, and the Triumph of Liberty Orchestra for Victims of a Communism Memorial Foundation. And let's go now to say something about Allessandra Cuffaro, who is his wife. She is an exceptional violinist who studied in Rome. But I want only to mention one thing to give you an idea of her exceptional capacity. She's the first Italian woman who played the 24 Capricci of Niccolò Paganini, the most difficult collection of violin pieces ever written, and she has played them 23 times around the world. It is believed, just to give the exception of the situation, that only 5-6 women and 15-20 men were able to play all the 24 Capricci of Paganini in the world since 1820, when it was published. So this will give you really the idea of her capacity and her preparation. Now, my dear fellow and distinguished guests, let's have the floor to them.
Thank you, Herminia. Such a nice presentation. Thank you, everybody, for having us. It's really a pleasure to be with you and share a little bit of music during pandemic times. So I will share briefly, and of course, let me know. Now we are not with the same time schedule, so you let me know when it's better I stop, and I will make sure I condense as needed. So I will share with you a little bit some of the challenges and some of the opportunities and some of the way musicians adapted to this new reality of music during COVID. First of all, let me share a series of challenges that the music world faces. And of course, as a conductor, I can say that the orchestra world is the one who was impacted the most, the opera world as well. First of all, what happened is that you need to shut down. There was no concert with orchestras. There were no concert with audience. So a lot of organizations just decided to close their doors, and a lot of musicians got out of jobs. So in this aspect, what I will present to you, the video you are going to see very shortly, is actually an example of heroic institutions who didn't do anything like that, but they reinvented themselves to create something completely new and keep their musician working and their students studying and so on. So in that aspect is something very positive that happened, and you will see on screen. That means a lot of organizations like the Newark Symphony Orchestra, you saw the national anthem. Of course, in America, people love their acronyms, NSO. NSO in DC, of course, is the National Symphony, but these are the Newark Symphony Orchestra. They still is NSO, and BSO can be Baltimore Symphony or something else. So you know how it is, Boston Symphony. Not having tickets was a traumatic experience. Usually an American orchestra has about 40% of budget coming from ticket sales. When you cut 40% of your budget, you can only imagine the tragedy that can be. So what was done was, let's reinvent, let's do this concert online, and let's try to have donation that will compensate for it. Sometimes it works, sometimes not. You know, it's much harder to, of course, if you are getting into a door and you need a ticket to get in, is one thing. If you are just connecting with a Zoom link, even if you see down there, please donate, not always that has the same impact. Another negative aspect was all these orchestras had marketing strategies built for years. Those were struck down completely. So you lost a lot of ads in your programs, a lot of ads in your brochures, a lot of things everywhere. So that was another incredible income loss for all the orchestras. How they adapted to that, they made ads online. So when they did this concert online, streamed either live or recorded, they sold some 20 seconds ads, whatever, 5-second ads with the prices. So in print, the size was connected to the price. Now the size is the time that you can see whatever, you know, store or a business there. So that again helped to keep things alive. Another impact that was really enormous was for musicians, and especially the ones most affected were the freelancers. Imagine the 2008 market crash. Just imagine that on steroids. Imagine a market crash of over 100%. A lot of freelance musicians who were, like in our area, performing with all these orchestras around and, you know, teaching here, doing jobs, all kinds of gigs, maybe weddings and things. In about 2 weeks, they went from being almost full employed or whatever they had their income to zero. And that was very traumatic because it's very hard to apply for unemployment benefits when you have a job like this. So a lot of musicians are doing really bad. The ones like us who have good university jobs and other different kind of positions, and thanks to this heroic organization, we are doing fine. But a lot of weaker, wonderful musicians are really borderline to be in great danger. So we think of them, and I know a lot of people is helping for that. Another aspect that was really traumatic is the soloists. You have been in the Kennedy Center and New York Philharmonic, London Symphony, wherever. There are all these wonderful soloists touring the world, and that's their job. Well, they don't have a job anymore. So all this wonderful, even big names, they cannot perform. All the market for them went from wonderful paying jobs to crashing zero. Some of them reinvented themselves in teachers. So they do Zoom master classes for whatever Sibelius violin concerto they were supposed to play in Boston for Boston people there. But all this was reinvented, but still they are really very vulnerable to this situation. Another very dangerous situation for musicians is for conductors. And especially I would say young conductors, the ones like me experienced. I know that when I'm going to be back in front of an orchestra, I still know what to do. But a lot of young musicians who are borderline to graduate or studying conducting, they were in orchestras before training every week how to do. For a conductor, you cannot just call yourself and practice at the piano. You need, unfortunately, a living instrument that is very big with 20, 30, 40, 50, 80 instruments. So for them, it's a tragedy. They cannot really improve their qualities. They can visualize, they can imagine how would it work, but unfortunately conducting, if you don't put your hands in front of you with musicians who see them, you never know if what you do works or not. So these are like 3 very serious personal impacts. For music in general, the main thing is there is no way to do music together. The Zoom connections and the internet delay really do not allow to really play together. So some of the things you see that we invented and reinvented ourselves are great opportunities, and I will talk more about that before I introduce the video. But all the chamber music, duet, trio, quartet, orchestra, chamber orchestra, all of this is impossible. You cannot do it. Now, the good news is, and you will see there how we adapted. Okay, we cannot play inside together. How about we play outside? So there was an incredible flourishing of concert outside. You will see we did some concert on a tennis court. And when the tennis court, of course, was wonderful, but was cold. So you see the heaters there, gas heaters in the middle, and people with coat. And of course, you know, if you're on a tennis court, you cannot just wear, you know, shoes with the, how you call the shoes with the
elegant shoes.
Elegant shoes. So I was on tails and tennis shoes. My teacher in Rome was so strict about dressing codes for conductors that if he would have seen me conduct with tennis shoes, I would lose my degree from Rome probably. And when things got colder and really going outside was even with heaters was impossible, like in November, and I'll show you a little bit. Then we went inside a place, but with all the windows open. So there was some sort of heat, so it was a little better, but still you will see us performing with a coat and with a situation that is really unusual. But still, we figured out a way to battle this virus from a musical point of view and still allow people to enjoy music. And at the same time, I have musicians still paid. And this organization really was wonderful in really managing all of them. Very hard balances, but make sure things will work. Okay, now let me give you some positive things, and then I go straight with the videos. Some are internet-based concerts allowed us, like today is a perfect example with all these people around the world, to have orchestras perform, not just with their lawyer aficionados that have their subscription, but all of a sudden, everyone can be seen everywhere around the world. So that completely brought the orchestras in a different dimension with several good benefits. That is, I remember this orchestra in Newark, all of a sudden get a check from Colorado and a check from places that you would never think somebody will donate to support your orchestra from that situation. So that was a completely good change that Corona brought. The other was that we are learning a lot. And again, today is the proof, all this technology, we are not going to lose it. All our ability to live stream around the world, all our cutting meeting in person. So with all the travel time we did to meet in person, I think it's going to change even later on when Corona is over. We are going to meet on Zoom still. It works very well. We don't need really to travel 1 or 2 hours to have an in-person meeting, I believe. Also, orchestras especially, a lot of printing costs were gone. You don't need to print any program this time, and you don't need to print any brochures and anything. Everything is digital, and that was a lot of saving that helped in the budget. Another one was a lot of orchestras who produced different kind of concerts, they didn't need to rent a hall anymore. So that was a very important cost that was slashed and helped again with the budget. Some very good positive is also Zoom lessons. Like Alessandra's experience of teaching all around the world now, Zoom lessons, it kind of works. We were at the beginning, I'm not sure, you really need to touch the finger. But the reality is, yes, for maybe very, very young students is one thing, but when you have a more experienced student, actually works quite well. Even myself teaching, conducting one-on-one with my students, I have now students all over the world. Sometimes they are enrolled in university, but they live in their own country. Actually really works quite well. Again, the aspect of being in front of an orchestra is a different one. That is a disaster. There is nothing less than that. But some of the other teaching, especially one-on-one teaching and instrumental teaching, is actually a very good surprise. The students improve a lot. Maybe partially is because schools are closed, so a lot of high schoolers maybe get bored and they practice more. So some of the concerto competitions I've been judging lately, the level is much higher than average. So I think that's due to the closing of the schools and much more, being at home and practice your instrument. Okay, so let me share with you a few videos. And you saw the first one, that is the Newark Symphony, the national anthem. That was one of the first experiments we did. And it was kind of funny because I wanted to do something symbolic. So I went to the Lincoln Memorial dressed up as a conductor. I was kind of looked at what's going on there. But I feel that doing the national anthem at the Lincoln Memorial was like a dream. So in many ways, I need to thank Corona for allowing me to do that video where I can be present at Lincoln Memorial, do the conducting the national anthem. The next video is from Catholic University Orchestra, where both Allessandra and I teach there. Our student, of course, we have an orchestra there, and I wanted to make sure that they still had a very productive year, even if we were not able to be together. So what I did was, with the help of the faculty who helped me to reinvent, I said, what can the student do to still call this an orchestra class and get some knowledge that will be beneficial for when they're going to apply for jobs after they graduate. So what we did, we transformed the orchestra regular into a few things. One was studying over excerpts from the main repertoire, so that they put together a series of excerpts with the help of our faculty. And they were also practicing sight reading. And we put together this in a project that was focused for auditioning for a job. So what do you do to audition and get a job in an orchestra? So something that usually is a side argument, a side issue, a topic, was put center in this semester. So they did a lot of excerpts, and then they simulated either live on Zoom or on a recording an audition. We had a panel like in the real world, and we told them, you may get the job, or with this, probably you need to change this, or there's no way you're going to get in. So that was something very instructive, I feel. Then we had the master classes with the very important names around the world, and we have some more happening from some of the major orchestras in the country, and also from Mozarteum in Austria, and other ones. And then we produced this that you're going to see, 6 videos with excerpt from the main repertoire, with what we call a tile orchestra, like a Zoom orchestra, you can call if you like, where every student record his own part, and then we put it together, just to make a little more sense for especially our conducting students who are missing the most. I asked my conducting students to record the conducting part first, so that all the other students who were playing, they saw the video with the conductor. So there was still some kind of connection between the gesture and the sound. The first video I'm gonna share, I don't know if I'm allowed to share. Let me see. Yes.
You should be. Just make sure to click the box that says share sound so we can hear it.
Yes, you're right. And so the first one you're gonna see is from, let me click here first. Just a second. I think I should probably do this first. Yeah, the first one you're gonna see is a video from Catholic University, a group of the orchestra, a smaller group of the orchestra, with a conductor. His name is Max Kaiser, who is actually our undergraduate. We have a Catholic, we are one of the few schools who really have not just DMA, doctorate, master, and artist diploma. We have also undergraduate conducting program, and he's an example of why I started that, because it's super talented. So let me show your Egmont, who is that is an overture by Beethoven, and since it was the Beethoven anniversary, that's why we did it. Okay, here it is. This is Egmont. Okay, and that's an example of what a tile orchestra is. Now, this was a tile orchestra with a certain number of players. The next one I'm going to show you is going to show the amount of work. Imagine every single little picture as a video and an audio that an engineer, as much as we try to play together, without listening to each other and watching each other, the gesture they conduct, it's almost really impossible. Our brain basically does incredible equation when we play with other people. They see the arm and they calculate where the arm is going to land, and that's where it's going to sound. All of this is almost impossible if you are not together, almost smelling your friend sitting close to you. That was a certain number of players. The next one is like the same problems on steroids. I work for Strathmore with the Maryland Classical Symphony Euro 2 orchestras. There's a wonderful group of about 108 players. So I'm going to show you a beautiful section of Jupiter by a host from the planet. Is one of the most memorable melodies. And you will see how all this came together. The way we did it was quite particular. I recorded the conducting part, but I also recorded me playing on the piano, the main track. So they had both, since they were younger kids, they had both some visual cues and the sound of the piano to follow through. So I think it came out pretty good. And so here is our Jupiter. Thank you. So that's another example.
Ooh.
I hope you like it. Thank you. It's kind of emotional, to see.
That was
basically-
awesome. That was
Thank you.
extraordinary.
Thank you very
Amazing.
much.
We have about
Next.
5 minutes left, Simeone.
Okay, good. So let me give you just a very tiny one from,
And we want to hear from Alessandra. So
yes. So let's just show you two pictures, basically. The tennis court with tennis shoes, and then a little bit inside, and then we have Alessandra playing. So this is, let me share this beginning here. Okay. You can see the tennis court, the heaters, the pool in the back. Okay, and the tennis shoes are there. So let's show you the room inside to give you another perspective. And notice at the beginning, we cannot shake hands anymore with our concertmaster or soloist. So we just do like swords. Look at the very beginning of the thing. You can see the coat. Alessandra has a coat this time because it was freezing cold. Okay, and I guess at this point, probably we can go with live, some music live. So you want to hear a little bit? So this is Vivaldi Spring. You can hear a little bit of that. Okay, and now let's go live, and so you can experience a real Zoom live concert. So Alessandra is going to play for you. Since, as Ermina said, Alessandra is well known for the Paganini, I think we cannot avoid to
We've
show
got
you a
about,
Paganini.
we need to end by
What a
one,
hint.
we need to end by 1:45. So everybody
That's
hang on
plenty.
because this is the best part. So thank you.
Thank you. So Paganini, she's going to play Capriccio number 13. That is, the nickname is La Risata, or the laughing, or they say the devil laughing. Paganini loved to use the instrument to imitate a lot of stuff. One of the reasons the things by Paganini are so hard is because he had a disease called the Marfan hand. The Marfan disease has the joints that are a little bit more elastic than normal. So for him, going up and down was a piece of cake. For regular humans, it's much harder. So here is Alessandra with Paganini, Capriccio number 13.
Awesome.
Awesome. Amazing.